welcome to another episode of Lighten Up, where we have honest conversations with real people about our similarities, our differences, and everything in between that makes us human. My name is Katie. I am the community lead here at PH360. I am a guardian health type from Vancouver, Canada, and absolutely delighted that I get to be the host of the Lighten Up series, where we interview amazing members of our personalized health community who have used this health type knowledge to further enhance their lives in every single aspect of living. And I am so thrilled that today I am joined by two absolute rock stars in our community. We have the dynamic duo of Sage and Sharna here talking about how they have used this health type information to help themselves build a really successful and integrated business partnership. Now, first of all, I'd love for Sage, if you could please hop on here and tell us your health type and introduce yourself a little bit.
Thank you, Katie. My name is Sage. I am in Perth, Western Australia. I'm an exercise scientist and Reiki master, and I am an activator who has the pleasure of working with Sharna.
Love it, Sage. Very diplomatic of you to add that in at the end. Thank you very much. And Sharna, would love to hear a little bit about you.
Hey team, I'm Sharna and I am in actually the Gold Coast now and in Queensland, and I am a diplomat, and I am so excited to be here with these two gorgeous ladies and this activator and guardian. How great.
So perhaps we'll start with Sage. What was it like when you were sitting in that room that day learning about the activator health type for the first time, knowing that you were an activator? What was that like when you were sitting in a room and hearing about the activator for the first time?
It was exciting. A lot made sense to me, and what I found is, and continue to find as I go through the process, I gain a lot more acceptance of myself, the good and the bad, or what is perceived to be bad but isn't always bad. So we, a lot of the time, will have misconceptions about our regular biological function because we're not aware that it's a biological function. So as I've become more aware, I've become more accepting, but then also more empowered because I'm able to make adjustments around that and be responsible for all parts of myself. And so what it does is it brings those things that you may not be conscious of and brings them into your consciousness, both so you're aware of your strengths and you can really, really capitalize on them, but then also aware of maybe some of your deficits or things you perceive not to be so great, and you can take responsibility for those and end up making those work for you as well. So it's been an unfolding of a lot of realizations, but I guess initially it was just so many light bulb moments that it's a blur. There's just so much, and it still happens now. Like, there's still times now where I'm like, oh, okay, I'm doing an activator thing.
I love it. And what were those key points about an activator that you sat there in the room hearing them? You're like, oh my gosh, that's me, that's me, that's me, that's definitely me.
Starting things and not finishing them. So having really great ideas, jumping into it, and then going, oh, that's not a good idea. Or just not having thought about how it's actually going to work, because we're quite impulsive and we'll do first, then think. So I was like, oh, that's why I've started so many things and haven't finished them. So that was one thing. And so then what I'm able to do is take responsibility for that, take the judgment away from why I haven't finished so many things, and maybe considered how I can employ some of the diplomat tendencies to explore the options before I make the decisions. And then
that's like advanced health typing 101.
Advanced.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So advanced. Basically winning and being the best at it. Yeah.
Yeah. Making it a competition. There's the activator. Now we tease the activator out.
Yeah, can't help it. And then also just my instinct to move all of the time and to make that the basis. So even with mental health, everything, I instinctually make sure that everything is structured around my movement. So regardless of what else is going on in my life or whatever stress levels I'm under, my exercise just came first because I knew it was a grounding point. Everything could go from that. So then understanding the mechanisms and why it was behind that, it all made sense to me as to why that was my primary go-to, was to make sure I was moving and feeling strong through that movement all the time.
Thank you for that insight, because it actually just gave me clarity on how I can actually jumpstart my exercise routine. Because as a guardian, do not prioritize that. But if I structure my whole life around it, then I kind of have to do it because I don't have any more excuses anymore. Right. I love that. Learning from the activators. Thank you, Sage. Fascinating. Now, Sharna, our diplomat, I would love to hear what your personal experience was like when you were sitting in that room that day, hearing about the Diplomat HealthType for the first time. What was that experience like for you?
I think as soon as I heard this. So as a chef, as a personal trainer myself, I've got many qualifications. I've started many things in my life too. But I remember sitting in that room and I was like, that's me, that's not me. That's me, that's not me. That's me, that's not me. I'm more like them. I'm like them. I'm like them and them and them. And I remember sitting in the room going, but I'm everything. And I think the greatest aha moments for me that really hit home to me was on that weekend, was they said, you need to sleep in. And as a personal trainer, guys, like often we're up before the sun, training ourselves or attempting to do something for ourselves, or training a client who's crazy enough to be awake at that hour, ectos. And then I'm sitting there going, why do I always feel so anxious and tired? And I'm living on caffeine, I'm living on supplements. My body constantly feels like I'm drawing from my bones, and I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working for me, yet it was working for so many others. So that weekend they challenged me to sleep in more, and we didn't have to be up early. We were there at 9. So I was like, what is this thing? I was like, what? And I noticed immediately a bit of a shift in me. But so there was the sleeping time frame, the times of which I needed to do the things that really shocked me, that were supposed to be good for me. And then it was understanding that I needed methodical balance, and that my environment really mattered to me. And I was like, huh, interesting. I've spent most of my life as a gypsy traveling and doing lots of stuff. No wonder being a chef and a personal trainer, right? So I've got the two paradigms of the things that people struggle with the most, the food and the fitness. And so they literally, food came first for me, typical diplomat. And then came the fitness, because I developed this addiction to food and flavor and sensuality and touch and smell. So it was really funny how I can now, understanding that weekend and understanding the diplomat, I was like, no wonder I did those things. And no wonder it took me 2 years of getting into this to really succumb, actually 3 years, to really succumb to what a diplomat HealthType should be living like, because I constantly was dictated to by society as to what a healthy fitness professional is, to what a healthy health professional is, to what an athlete is. And I was trying to live out all these contradictions rather than actually shedding that away and just being me, right? And just understanding who I am. And also, because we're having this conversation with the lovely Sage on board, is that then understanding those opposing me, and the fact that Sage is an activator, she's directly across the spectrum for me. And on that first weekend, I realized, and now I also realize, that I was living as an activator in a diplomat body. So I always said I was a walking contradiction for all the wrong reasons. I now realize it was because I was trying to be the activator and not fully embracing the diplomat. And now I'm finally doing that. The world makes so much more sense.
Ooh, fascinating. What makes you say that? Like, what makes more sense now?
The fact that I'm slow and steady in the morning, and I actually have this, I've always been a night owl, and for years I lived on coffee and stimulants, because I would be up until 1 or 12, 1 in the night, my brain being like, yes, everyone's quiet, I can do my stuff. And then I'd have to be up at the crack of dawn for all of my clients and for my training and to fit in all the stuff for all the other part of the world. And so I was constantly burning the candle at both ends. And right, so now I finally sit there and go, actually, I'm not talking to anyone before 8 a.m. I'm not actually going to get out of bed before 7:30, if you're lucky, 8:30. And then I'm going to start my day and it's going to be about me. And then I know that then through the afternoon, I can power on in while all the activators and everybody else is getting tired. I'm actually hitting my peak performance and I'm able to serve the greater good. And poor Sage, as a business together, she's always getting these late night, like, oh my gosh, this and this and that and that. And then I wake up in the morning to these voice messages from Sage and I'm like, oh gosh, like what? Shh, shh, shh. Quiet voice. Too early. Your brain is too loud. And so and we've managed to marry this both parts of ourselves into this genius spectrum of understanding what parts of the day. And then when we're talking, I'll be all excited in the evening and I'll go, oh, that's right, sorry, it's your non-brain time. I'll just put some notes down and we'll talk at that 11 a.m. time when we're both on board.
Love it. I love the self-awareness and also the awareness of the other and the business partner and how you guys can just use it to just have a laugh and see the lighter side of it, right? And not take it on or take it personally and take on that stress and like, oh, urgency. Okay, got to respond right now. You know, how some people might respond now. It's like, Sharna's on another late night creative streak. All right, there she goes.
Exactly it.
And we literally have the language now of just being able to go, oh, you're doing your thing. That's cool. That's fine.
Yeah, because when I'm doing it early morning, I know that Sharna knows I just need to express it and get it off my chest. And I'm having all the light bulb moments early in the morning. So even though I'm expressing it, I know that she'll go, oh, she's just, and accept that, even though it's not her right time to listen to it, she'll accept. So we will accept each other, even if it's not the right time for us. We understand what each other's doing.
I love it. Such an advanced level of awareness, you guys. That's so incredible that you were able to come together as opposites. Like you say, you sit opposite one another on the HealthType circle there. And so I'm really curious to hear what it was that you found attractive about going into business with someone from the opposite HealthType. So what was it, Sage, about Sharna that you found really attractive, being so different from you, the complete opposite of you, that was really like, oh, okay, yeah, I see this as a strength, actually, even though I don't have it, I see a strength in her. What were those aspects that were really attractive to you about going into business with the Diplomat?
Well, from my perspective, and Sharna, I know will answer this the opposite to me, because I just went, oh, I really like Sharna. She's great and she's amazing and she's really smart. Let's do business. That's the amount that I thought about it. And so I really appreciated her, but I did not consider many options. And so as we've gone deeper into it and actually had to really do some applied work, I've intentionally gone into Sharna's profile so I can gain a deeper understanding on how does her mind work, where are her strengths. We're both pretty headstrong and we're both very determined. But if I'm going into something really determined and Sharna pipes up and I know from knowing her profile so well, it's one of her strengths, I'll just go, this is a time where I don't stick to my guns. This is a time where I go, this is actually Sharna's strength. No matter how much I think I'm right about it, it's one of her strengths. And I will hand it over to her. And then what happens is it is one of her strengths. She then complements exactly what it is that I wanted to do anyway. And so it's as we go along, it's a constantly evolution. It's a constant evolution of gaining more understanding. We've really had to, just like any relationship, the more we get involved, the more we've gained understanding of ourselves and the other person. And we're able to transform and utilize our strengths to benefit ourselves and each other. So it's been a really, really interesting journey, just so far.
It's So fascinating. I love it. And I'm so curious now to hear Sharna's response.
So I already had a vision for where I wanted to go in the future, and I was just waiting for the right angel to drop in to facilitate certain areas. I've always had the hierarchy vision of where the world needs Sharna to be, and I knew the middle of last year, I had the realization that I can't do this alone, and I don't want to do this alone anymore, which is, as a diplomat, our main thing is we want to be heard and be a part of the herd. And so I was waiting for the right angel to come along. And when Sage and I met on a project, the really amazing thing was that Sage, she said the right words, and she had this energy and this attitude that I really loved and respected. Obviously, the activator speaking out and speaking their truth. But because of the lens I had of PH360, I was already in the space of connecting and allowing everyone to show up how they needed to. And so when Sage would have her activator outbursts and whatnot, or speaking her truth, which to some might seem like an outburst, I was sitting there going, yes, look at you do this. Look at you being an activator. That is so great. And so then I would sit there and I would go, okay, she's got the knowledge. She has the science. Wow, she loves doing all the written stuff. I hate that. Wow, Sage really loves the nitty gritty of this. I hate that. This is a really great opportunity. We really get along quite well. She holds space for me. She hears me. And she also loves all the things that I love, but she likes doing the stuff I don't like doing. So in my brain, I was like assimilating, there's my angel. She is smart, spunky, well outspoken, which I love because I'm well outspoken. She loves the nitty gritty written and the science. Wow, this marries up really well, and I can see us working. So my brain had already assimilated the project we've just started, the project we've just finished, the project we're starting, and the next 3 projects going on. And I was like, Sage is like the gift from the universe that fits into all the aspects of the perfect person that I want to work with. And then as she's ticking off the boxes of like where my brain had created future projects and possibilities, it just made total sense to me, and it was comfort. So in knowing that, saying similar to what Sage was saying before, I know when Sage is talking to me, I hear the tonality and I feel the energy of her words and her presence with me. And quite often I've gone, but have you trained today, or have you trained yet? Or have you eaten? So I know through the language that she is and the energy that she's holding as to whether or not she needs something else, because I know she's an activator. And same with me, she'll do the same. So I love that I knew what I needed because I was already thinking of every other move. So when she came in, I was like, you are the perfect fit, and I'm willing to invest my energy because I feel like I will get, and it might sound selfish, but this is a requirement of a diplomat. I knew that if I invested my energy in Sage, the return would match what I was putting in.
But an interesting thing here, right? I was the one who took action and said, why don't we work together?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. So the idea came from you.
Sharna would have had the idea
there.
Yeah, so that's where we go. Activator Diplomat, she may or may not have brought up the idea to me, but I didn't even think. I just said it when I thought it, and I took action on it. And she would have already, even now sometimes, she's thought of the plan way bigger than, but the good thing is when she tells me, because I know my brain likes to know the plan because it's a little bit ectomorphic, likes to know that everything I'm doing has a purpose. So she tells me the bigger plan, and then I feel better to take action on it because I understand it's going to have a purpose to doing it. Otherwise, I can get a little bit hesitant and not take action like an activator likes to. But then I look in her profile and I know that's one of her really big skills and gifts. And so then I'm taking action, which she loves, because then she's like, oh, Sage is certain of the action. So then I can be certain too.
You know, it sounds like you guys already have it all figured out. You've already ironed out all the wrinkles, you know, perfectly, seamlessly how to interact with one another. And of course, we really want to know the nitty-gritty details. Like, could you give us some specific examples maybe of some of those learning curves that you both had to go through as you were navigating on how this was all really going to work? you have any examples you could share with us?
We've been pretty good. Like there's little minor things. Sharna doesn't like being told what to do, and nor do I.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. Love it.
And things like Sharna will, and I can even sense she might trigger even as I say it, task completion times can be a bit of an issue. And so if we're talking about something, she go, oh yeah, we can do that in 2 weeks. And I'll go, oh, let's maybe, because I know she won't like being told what to do. I'm like, maybe we could consider going 2 to 4 weeks. So then I'm not telling her what to do, but I'm giving her that out. So if it gets to 2 weeks and it's not done, the stress doesn't start to pressure of time, doesn't start to impede on her. So that's one of the, even just the learning to deliver the information, we just kind of fine tune it.
And I think the other thing, because we know that I was stuck inside of an activator behavior for so long, it's been the ability to have Sage help me come out of that. There's been times where Sage will call me on the fact that I'm behaving like an activator and pull me back into being more of a diplomat and understanding that it takes more of the time. So it's great having an activator with me, because it reminds me when I'm being too much activator and to step back into myself as a diplomat, rather than keep trying to be all the things, keep trying to be the activator as well. It's great because then I get to actually surrender back into knowing that I have the plan and that she can take the action.
Yeah, that's been a major one. This also the stubbornness of the diplomat. I just kind of, because we essentially coach each other through lots of processes, I really acknowledge the stubbornness of the diplomat, but I don't relent. And so it's that real encouragement and holding that space to really encourage Sharna, like, be a diplomat. All the conditioning of her life to think it's lazy to have these biological way that she works is lazy, or it's not the way that society she thinks she should be behaving, to really honor the diplomat. And the more and more she does that, and I'm no different, I've really got to honor the activator to take action and to actually do things, that everything then starts to just go into flow and it seems so much more effortless. So it's still work in progress to just really honor who we are.
Now, I
was going to say, for us, with what you've just discussed about knowing the other health types, Sage and I have literally been discussing the last couple of weeks going, we need a third person. And we've actually been able to sit down and go, we need someone who has the analytical, who's good at because both of us are terrible at organizing things in like a schedule matter and a methodical. So with this lens, we're now actually able to go, we know who we need and which parts of our health types and which health type elements that we require for our next person to join us in taking us to the next level, because we have this understanding and awareness and love and appreciation for what each health type can bring to a business.
I love it. And that's actually what my next question was going to be to both of you, of course. Endomorphs on the same page there, the Guardian and Diplomat, was I'd love to know what you see the benefits have been to your business from applying this health type information. So what benefits have you already witnessed from putting this health type lens on and running your business the way that you have? What benefits would you say you've seen so far in doing that?
Oh, countless. So first of all, just to have the understanding of each other, the complete avoidance of some of the misconceptions that people often have between each other. So an example that comes to mind is quite often I'll say no, because activators say no. And sometimes Sharna will say, oh, no, you didn't want to do that. And I'll go, I could change my mind on that. And I know she will say, I know I'm okay to say that. I know I'm not going to appear flaky or indecisive. And I know that she will go, she just did an activator thing. And then when I'm doing it, Sharna's like, oh, she just did an activator thing. It's not that she's being any which way. So all the judgment, it's such a safe place to be. And so then what that happens is, because it's so safe for us to be who we are, then our true genius can really come out, because we're not trying to worry that the other person's not understanding us. We're not necessarily needing to change ourselves to suit the other person or what we think the other person might need. It gives us so much more freedom to just relax and really be who we are, and also to just admit our deficits. And so it's just made it such a safe place. So yeah, it's hard to just to isolate out anything specific, because it's all encompassing.
Especially business partnerships, when sometimes you can have that ego space that's in there when you go into business together. And what you just described sounds like such a, like you say, a safe space of non-judgment, to just allow the other person to be themselves, so that they can feel confident enough to feel supported to bring in their natural strengths and genius. It's such a paradigm shift for some business partnerships. So fascinating.
Yeah, massive. And we both have the potential to be quite confrontational and stubborn, but we know that about each other as well. So even that understanding of each other and ourselves, we're wary of that being something that our awareness around it means it's not a problem.
And Sharna, you've already mentioned that you've already gone through the process of understanding the health types and understanding what work tasks need to be taken care of, and starting to piece the two together of how you might find someone of a certain health type to satisfy those needs. Is there any other ways that you've seen benefits from applying this health type information to your business at this point?
Sage pretty well touched on an aspect of it. I think one of the major things is conflict resolution. And understanding this is a dynamic. When you're working with other people, conflict resolution is real, and it will come up at varying stages. And something that probably enabled us to partner together so well was that we were so fortunate in the early days to play witness to that playing out quite well. And I think because of the PH360 lens, we were able to really look at that and see how we had played out our own reactivity in situations, and our own strengths and our own weaknesses, and everybody involved in the same facet. And because we always say we've nerded out on PH360, we've nerded out on this, it's our being. We were both able to reflect on the entire situation and see the way that the health type was playing out, and how it was playing out true to itself, and how those involved, some of us were playing out outside of the things that are true to ourselves, and then be aware of that. And then it meant that we were able to have less judgment of that situation, and understand how to resolve it, or where it was no longer resolvable and it had to move on into something else. And that had to, so we know when to close boxes and when to leave them open, right? We know when to walk through that door or not walk through that door. So in business and building an empire or building a construct, it's really, really great to know the natural formations of the individual and what's not natural, and when to be alarmed, and when conflict resolution has a purpose, and when it also finally does not. And I think that's really important with businesses that are growing and expanding and employing different health types and different groups.
Oh, so fascinating, ladies. Just, I love hearing all the innovative applications of this health type information, because just so many benefits seem to come out of it so many times. And as you've just demonstrated and shared with us, it's so fascinating. Now, let's say, for example, we have some individuals watching this call who are diplomats and activators in a business partnership, and they're new to the health type conversation. They're new to personalized health. What would be some of those tips that you would like to give those in a professional business relationship dynamic of how the activator and diplomat can work best together?
Really get to know your own profile and your partner's profile really well, particularly the genius sections and the mind section. Get to know those really well. See where the potential is for things to not go right. And then see where your strengths are, where the other person's strengths are. Discuss them. So we have agreements, it's brought up. These are your strengths. I'm going to acknowledge them, and vice versa. So you're just having the awareness around it is super important, because even though we understand our general how we're going to be, it's to really get into it and really own it and really encourage each other to really honor that within yourself. So if I've got a strength and I'm doubting it, then Sharna can come in and go, this is one of your strengths, back yourself, take action. So we can really support each other. So that would probably be the main thing, like really get to know yourself and each other. Use it, use what you've got right there in front of you.
Oh, actually, yeah, definitely add to that. You may notice that most of the time I let Sage go first. Diplomat and Activator connection. Diplomats, you have the capability of holding space and holding the information and waiting for the right time to speak. Activators need to express themselves right then and there, and it's really important for them when they're in a flow state to get that out. And diplomats have got this catalog that we can just keep file of everything. And so remembering that even though a diplomat may be emotional and wanting to express themselves, it's best, safest, and totally doable to allow your activator to speak first. Because quite often, like I said earlier, they'll have thought of something you may not have, and they'll say it in a way that you would not, which also then helps the diplomat to gain clarity to be able to speak their truth and take their action. So, and so, I mean, Sage said everything perfectly, but that one's definitely something, is always let the activator speak first if you can, and then hold your space, simulate your conversation and speak it forward, and make sure that you are always acknowledging your activator, because the activator will naturally do it back to you. If you acknowledge the activator, they will acknowledge you. And that's the beautiful thing of it, is we as diplomats have the bigger body and the greater capacity. The activator is the now. So give them the now, and you have the capacity to hold on and be there for the later, and speak it slower or pass it on later when it's more relevant. That's a definite big one in all aspects of the business.
Yeah, because also we'll forget as well. We'll forget. And so that means, and we won't pay attention.
Yeah.
So if we haven't, and it's not a fault, like it's not that I'm not consciously not paying attention, but if I'm trying to remember what I'm going to say, because I'll get distracted and forget, I won't pay attention to what the other person's saying. So if I get it out and it's expressed and it's out, good, I can now pay attention. I can then consider the other options. So yeah, and knowing that Sharna knows that and doesn't think, oh, it's all about Sage, she has to say what she wants all the time. It's, yeah, we just have that. Yeah, that's a big understanding that's important.
And lists. And then the other thing would be, diplomats, write your schedule, write your day, get clear on what you need and where it needs to go, then communicate that. And the activators will always fit in where they can. Like, there's a beautiful simulation when the diplomat knows where the ship is sailing and how long it's going to take for that ship to set sail. The activators are jet ski, and they will jump in and around your waves and create their magic around what you need to do. But the diplomat must know their trajectory throughout each day.
Oh, that reminds me of something. Sharna and I got our chrono wheels, and we're like, when am I high functioning? When are you high functioning? And I'm in Perth, obviously she's on the Gold Coast, so there's a time difference. And we worked out when is our optimal time to have meetings about things that are important. And both of our brains are switched on. And so we coordinate our times.
Love it. Oh my gosh. How productive is that? Yeah. And have you noticed a difference when you do meet at that time versus other times?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we try and meet in the afternoon, and Sage is like, so, but then like last night I was up till late and I created a list of things, and I know Sage has probably already jumped on and done a bunch of stuff already this morning. So in the evening I will set my lists and my tasks and set priorities and conversations for us, and then she'll get up before I've gotten up, and she's doing her parts of everything. So once you have understand that, you know how the day and the flow integrates between the two of you.
We've been really focusing on understanding the health types and how that's really helped and benefited your business and yourself as business people who have come together for a business partnership. Now, I'd love for us just to hear briefly your personal advantages that you have found to your own personal well-being because you have applied this health type information to the business in a way that's been very effective. It sounds like things are really syncing and in flow, and you guys are really leveraging each other's strengths. What does that mean to your personal life and your personal health and your personal stress levels, would you say? How does your personal life benefit from applying this health type information to your professional career at this point? Sage?
In every way possible. And it's actually really interesting. We've been reflecting on this a little bit over the week. Genius is last on my list of my list of priorities. It's last, but it is really important to me. So being low down on my priorities does not mean it is less important. It is very important to me. What it highlights to me is the importance, especially of having the first 3 priorities working for me. So exercise was a no-brainer. I've recently improved my nutrition to help with my brain function, to help with my focus, which will then help with my work. One of the hardest ones recently has been social, because I'm a little bit introverted. I fall on the introverted half of the circle. So what we discussed was how often that 3rd priority is a bit more of a challenge for us. So I've really acknowledged that and gone, okay, with Sharna supporting me, because that's what she does best, on and how to use the social. Because what happens with the activators socially, if they connect with people who are within their field of work, is it gets you inspired, a bit competitive in a really fun way. And so what it's done is, by entering into more social relationships with peers who are in the field of work that I am, has amplified my work. And then I feel really accepted, and it's such a great feeling to have like comrades and everyone. Obviously PH is such a safe, loving, accepting environment, that feeling has helped me to take action in my work. So with Genius actually being the last one on my list, it means all the other good things get to filter down through my whole life in order for that to work for me, because it's important for me.
Love that perspective. And that's so true. That's a big point that you made at the beginning there about Genius being the bottom of your priority list, but a priority for you. That's so true. And it's not about, your personal preference when it comes to the health type priority list, but it's so fascinating to see that when everything else falls into place, then you actually have the capacity and the clarity to be able to identify, ooh, but this is really important to me, so I need to make sure that I do that. But all of this needs to be in place for me to actually recognize and understand, work's really important to me and I get so much out of it. That's so fascinating.
Yeah, it is. And even going through the process, so much of this process just recently, I've gone, oh, wow, like more and more, wow, and how much everything just amplifies everything else. And it's actually going through the process that's made me realize that more and more.
For me personally, it was place. And I think I'm going to mention it because we're all in it right now. COVID-19 has actually been a gift to me as a diplomat, because I spent my whole life trying to be a chameleon and live up to expectations and obligations of society that I can now fully surrender to and see they weren't serving me. And the diplomat flow is about this long game, and it's about our first priority is our place, our environment, and our second priority is our genius, which is our workflow. And so all of my life I was trying to live up to expectations of all these different scenarios, and it's not until now I've actually been able to surrender all of those roles or jobs that I thought I needed for security, and I can actually now, I'm finally in an environment. And so Sage and I have got a whole bunch of work we're trying to do right now, but I've just moved into a new house and helped my friend renovate the house and clean it out. But also I now have a place for all of my stuff. All of my boxes are unpacking and having their cute little place. And I know within my being, as much as everyone might think that that's fluffing or dilly-daddling, is that when I do that, I know through this weekend and beginning of next week, Sage is going to be like, whoa, like slow down, because I need to get my environment, my place correct. And once I do that, my genius then flows. So right now there's been this whole like, that, then, like constant competition between my environment and my genius flow. Fitness is my third priority. So fitness has always been my hierarchy because of my own life journey with fitness world, eating disorders, all that sort of stuff, to now see that that was my third priority, not my first. My environment was my hierarchy, and then my genius flows from that. So we're super excited. I'm super excited because right now is the first time in 32 years that I can actually fully embrace who I am and be in flow and see what flow actually looks like. So it's a really exciting time now because I will now be able to wake up when it's best required. I'll now be able to do a morning ritual that is in perfect flow. I now have a place for all of my things and I can beautify my space. I now have the clarity for my creative self to fully express because everything in my environment is perfect. And then, as someone I alluded to before, being someone who has had a life of eating disorders, a life of that, we're really intrigued to see the full Diplomat encompassing of that behavior because we're hoping that drops away. So right now, you guys have set a challenge for us to live out our PH360 completely. And that's why I'm actually fully in that space, is because now I can finally do that. And we're really interested to see how that plays out with mindset, eating, genius flow. Like, you can see how when you get to understand all of this as an individual, let alone as a business, it becomes so exciting to see what's actually possible and what your flow really looks like.
Oh my gosh, Sharna. I don't know about you, Sage, but I'm sitting here like close to tears right now at seeing the joy and the inspiration and the flow that Sharna is just exuding right now.
Yeah. I'm very, very excited. I'm also like, there's more creative Sharna to come.
Look out. It's only the beginning. Oh, Sharna. So what does this HealthType information and these HealthType priorities then mean for your personal life, would you say? How do you encompass that in like a couple of sentences?
I digress. It means flow, and it means, I think for a diplomat, it means power and flow in balance. Like it means that I finally get to be okay within myself. I'm an Amazonian, I'm a big body, and instead of judging who I am physiologically, I now am able to fully embrace all of that and just come from love, like rather than judgment. Like I always wanted to be an activator, physically, mentally, emotionally. And now it's actually fully coming back into myself and appreciating every aspect of me, seeing every aspect of me, and just being ready to stand up and really radiate that. And that for me has actually been my lifelong desire. Let's do that or you make me cry. Just holding it together.
All of us.
I love it.
So for me as a diplomat, it's finally being able to, and I think a lot of diplomats will resonate with this. We spend our lives trying to be all of the things, and to finally come back and shed away those layers of the onion or the ogre, because that kind of fits too, is just to fall in love with ourselves, fall in love with our creative flow, and fall in love with the life, and know that we're here to support others when we support ourselves first.
I was absolutely moved by both of you sharing your stories. It's so cool to see both of you just absolutely in flow and being in yourselves. So thank you both so much for joining us here today.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you both, and thank you for joining us here on this Lighten Up webisode. We hope you're feeling a little bit more enlightened to the ways of the Diplomat and Activator working relationship dynamic as we put the spotlight on these beautiful examples of Activator Sage and Diplomat Sharna here today, who really shared with us a little sneak peek into their business relationship dynamic. So thank you so much for joining us on this webisode, and we cannot wait to see you on the next one. Take care, everyone. Yay! Seriously, I was so close to tears, so moved by her inspiration right now.
Oh, and I was like,